Alright, let's get into a little bit more of this thing, if I can get my camera to stay in place. So, one of the things that I've been looking into is what exactly this thing has rigged up for a lock for the spindle. So it looks like this guy here is a lock. I can't figure out exactly how it's supposed to function just yet. I think something is seized up in it, but I'll take that apart at a later point in time. This is just kind of reference for me, and I'll bring the camera in and get close-up views of all this stuff. But the other thing that I want to try and keep in mind is eventually I want to change this to a high-speed gearbox if I can. So I'm trying to kind of document what's in the head of this thing and what's under the cap, which I've got over here on the stool. So I'll get a little closer view of that stuff here in a second. One of the things that I'm kind of interested in is, so this front gear here that's actually on the spindle itself has a hole drilled in the front of it that appears to match up with this square peg. So I'm going to pull it out, get a measurement of it, and get it recorded so I don't forget it. And then I'll show off some of the other interesting tidbits. See if I can get this in focus here. So anyways, this is what actually drives the spindle. And it has, what, 0.376, 0.37, get it smaller, about 0.37. Seems to be, oh, it's wallered out a little bit this way. So top to bottom it's about 0.3, well, depending on where I get, I guess. 0.37, 0.376, 0.378, something like that. So that's that part. I'll slide this back on. Well, no, I won't. I want to show off what's inside the head of this thing a little bit. 0.378. This is way oversized. 0.466 around on the square edge. 0.362 on the flats. So I don't know what the deal is with that exactly. One of the other things that I want to do eventually is swap out some of these oilers. I don't think you can see, it's probably blocked by this, but some of the oilers are not going to be conducive to getting decent amount of oil in this thing. And there again, if I get this thing cranked up to a couple thousand RPM in the head, I don't want lubrication to be a problem because it's just brass or bronze bearings in there. So oil is going to be a good thing so as to not, lock anything up. Okay, right, it looks like they've also kind of filled the thing with grease. I don't know if it's recommended to have grease in it or to have some sort of oil or gear oil, but so you can see part of the brass or bronze bearing there. This is the input shaft to the gearbox, and then this is the spindle. This is the bolt where the bolt goes that locks down the tumblers that goes between forward and reverse. This is the piece I was talking about that I suspect has something to do with the spindle locking mechanism. I need to do more research on that yet to figure it out. One of the oilers that I'm not real fond of, so that one will probably get replaced. Now on the head, it's on the top of this thing. Here's another big brass or bronze bushing. So it's got this oil port that has access to it right there. And same thing with the back side. Doesn't look like it's going to show up very well, but there's an oil cup on the back here and a slot in the bushing right there. So anyways, these tumblers apparently locked up at some point in the past. They've been replaced. There's a set of damaged tumbler gears that's in the cabinet of this thing. Looks like needed to kind of clean that edge up a little bit. It's digging into this gear a little bit, or the bronze bushing, or oh, maybe it's just false alarm. It's the bronze bushing isn't pushed in quite as far as the gear itself, so it doesn't look like it's actually wearing, or at least not yet. Flip this over. There you can see the top of it. So again, this is the spindle shaft, this is the input shaft, and the tumblers. One oil cup, rear oil cup, front oil cup. So this would actually be the correct orientation, or approximately the correct orientation of it. So let's see, I think that might have been just about it for this one. Oh, and these guys here is what locked or held this shaft in place. Okay, so I think that's probably a good stopping point. Can't think of anything else that's pertinent right now.